Hey, this is Nicole Johnson-Yan. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Now, if you're anywhere near the news, you know that events in Syria happened extremely fast, and that as of today, which I'm recording this on December 11th, there is no more of the Assad regime in Syria. The government fell, and there's a new government in place now, led by a rebel group that was involved in this takeover. So I want to share with you a briefing that I gave to an organization called the Global Prayer Watch. I did this on Friday, December 6th. And, of course, events changed rapidly between the time that I gave that briefing and right now as I'm doing this recording. But there are still very key points and elements in there just about how the implications of this for the entire neighborhood of the Middle East, from Lebanon to Israel, of course, Iran and Turkey, how it could impact Jordan, et cetera, et cetera. So I break that all down. So while the information is just a little bit dated in terms of like the government fell after that, but it's still, there's a lot of information there that will explain what we're going to be looking at now as we go forward. So anyway, I'm going to share that with you now, and take a look and let me know what you think about how this is all going to play out.
Today, this is a rare occasion, but I have notes, and I have a lot of notes. So this is going to be different, but you guys know what's happening. You know that like literally all hell is breaking loose around the world and around the region, particularly where I am. And I don't know the different factions in Lebanon, and I definitely didn't know the different factions in Syria. And suddenly there's an alphabet soup of rebel groups that have just exploded onto the scene. And so I had to do my homework. So it's a little bit different than all the stuff that I know because I'm watching the Israeli news. I had to do homework. So this is Syria, and I want to now. I'm not an expert in Syria, and I know, and unfortunately, I missed yesterday your Syria watch, and I wanted to tune in because I want to understand better from people that know better what's going on. So I'm not going to go in depth into Syria, but more so into the implications of what's happening right now for this entire neighborhood here in the Middle East. So I'm going to attempt to share screen. Let's see if I can do that. I think I may have done it. Did I do it? Do you guys see a map?
Yes, it looks great.
Oh, good. Okay, so now we can see what we're looking at, which is great. Okay, so what are the implications of what is happening for Syria in the Middle East and for Israelis and Palestinians? So first of all, let's talk about the timing. No sooner had we had a ceasefire to a 14-month battle between Israel and Hezbollah, then suddenly the rebels in Syria are going wild, and they're in Aleppo, and then they're here, and then they're there, and it's like, wow, what's happening? So nothing, coincidences are very rare when it comes to politics and regime changes. So I don't have the answer for that, but I would say let's all keep our, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Where did this come from so suddenly after the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon? Now, some people are already saying that there's that the U.S. and Israel were engineering a regime change. That's one thing that I've heard. I'm sure other people are saying other, places are Turkey for sure is all in on this, with the rebels. So, okay, so the rebels, many people don't like Assad, who is the current president of Syria, but the rebels are also their background. We're talking about split from Al Qaeda. We're talking about in the essence of ISIS, the Islamic State. We're talking about Sunni radicals that will most likely implement Sharia law everywhere that they conquer. So this is the different groups are like Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. There's this Syrian National Army, which is, rebels against the actual Syrian army. There's 6 other groups included in them, groups from Turkestan. There's fighters from Central Asia and other non-Syrian Arabs. So according to analysts, what I have been able to ascertain, and also we have my father's former coworker who immigrated to America, and he's in New York. He still has family there, and he's trying to get them out. He's a Syrian Christian, and it's a very dangerous right now for ethnic groups, for minority ethnic groups, for religious minorities, and what will come, because the rebels will probably implement a strict interpretation of Sharia law. So this is, and what will happen is what we're seeing now is that it will probably cause another refugee crisis from Syria. Christians, Armenians, Kurds, we'll see what happens as this plays out. So geopolitically, right now, Russia is in Syria. They have been for years. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when Israel launches attacks in Syria on Iranian weapon shipments or Iranian targets, actually, this is all happening behind the scenes. None of this is like, verbatim that it happens and it's printed like this in the media, but it's sort of this known thing. Israel gets permission from Russia or informs Russian troops in Syria, hey, we're going to be attacking such and such, whatever, and Russia looks the other way. Now, of course, none of this is on the record. None of this is, would pass the censor or whatever. This is the common knowledge of what's happening. So Russia has been in Syria up until now. Who else? Iran, obviously, in Syria, and Iranian shipments from, so this is why I have the map to show where is Iran in all this over here. And here's Syria. So the shipments from Iran are going through Iraq to Syria that are going to Lebanon over there on the left of your screen, which is where Hezbollah is. But this is the weapons line for.
Okay, Nicole. So you're not sharing screen anymore.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah. So you were.
Now I still have it. I still have it, dear.
It says I'm screen sharing.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. All right. I don't know why I don't have it then.
Oh, okay. You know
Never
what?
mind. Okay, I'm sorry.
If you can't, that's fine. That's totally fine. If you can't see it, I mean, it'd be interesting to pull out a map later and just to get the idea. But let's put it this way: the land line between Iran to Hezbollah and Lebanon will be broken if Syria falls to the rebels, most likely. So there's also U.S. interest in Syria, and there's also, of course, the Israeli interest, which is that it would like to stop Iranian influence in Syria. But on the other hand, it doesn't really want these rebels who might be more associated with Hamas than they are with other groups. They don't want them on their border. So, so Russia is already retreating from the region, and Turkey looks like is expanding itself in the region. Israel, this is and by the way, Russia just called on its citizens to get out of Syria, like just in the last couple hours. Israel, in the last couple hours, just said that it will deploy troops to the border, both ground and aerial troops to the border between Israel and Syria. They were just up there, like to the west, and now they're going to be focusing on the east. the fighting is going close to Jordan. You can see if you do see the map, and I'm sorry if you don't, but if you see that Syria shares a long border with Jordan as well. And I heard that some of the fighting was getting close to there. So that's that. So now Lebanon. Lebanon just lost a bunch of citizens, or people that fled. Some were Hezbollah, and that fled from Lebanon into Syria. So now they don't want to be in Syria. Now, I don't know if you know this, but during when Israel killed Hassan Nasrallah, who was the head of Hezbollah, the rebels in Syria actually praised Israel for doing that. Now, of course, that doesn't make them allies, but they were thrilled because the rebels are against Hezbollah. Hezbollah killed a lot of rebels during the civil war, and so the Hezbollah that were getting attacked by Israel fled to to Syria, and now they're stuck or trying to get back into Lebanon. And now Hezbollah has been weakened. Hezbollah cannot now maybe get weapons, or how would they get weapons from Iran? And so what is going to happen there? Lebanon is unfortunately a weak state lately because of Hezbollah stranglehold, because Iran is exerting influence, and Syria had exerted influence. And now with Hezbollah being weakened, will the other Lebanese rise up and fill that vacuum and create a strong, stable country? Now, I just wrote an article in which I say that this could be Lebanon's time to take advantage of this. If you want to, I don't have the link right now, but if you want to check it out, my website is nickjan.com, and you can see it there. But I go into also Trump's pick for special envoy or advisor to the Middle East, who is his daughter-in-law's father-in-law. So it's all in the family, but he's a Lebanese Christian. And I just looking at knowing the way Trump has functioned in the past, I bet there's going to be something on the table for Lebanon, like an offer, like a deal. Now, it's not going to be on the level of the Abraham Accords, but it will be probably economic incentives to help Lebanon, strengthen itself right now. So anyway, you could check that out, because that's a whole different topic. It could be another briefing in general. So I'll stop there. And then there's also Iraq. Will the copycat Sunni groups rise up now and feel emboldened by the rebels? And, there's a Sunni Shia like angst in Iraq, tension in Iraq as well. So let's see, there's a lot. So there's a lot going on, as you can see on that part of the map. So now bringing it closer to Israel. Like I said, these rebels are no friends of Israel. They will have Assad's weapons if Damascus falls, and if the whole country falls. They'll have the chemical weapons that he was accused of using. They already have, as you probably have seen, there's so many videos coming out of all of the weapons they've acquired, Russian weapons, Iranian weapons. So now they will have also that, and chemical weapons right on the border with Israel. And that will probably also give them, like they'll be able to bully Lebanon and Jordan as well. So Hezbollah is against the rebels. We had the leader, he called them terror groups. The leader, let me restate this. The new leader of Hezbollah called the rebels terror groups. I just thought that was funny, the irony. Okay, and so we'll see what happens there. That's that. Israel is still striking Hezbollah smuggling routes on the Syrian-Lebanese border. They're still striking actually in Lebanon as well. Meanwhile, the Lebanese army is moving south as they're supposed to, as the terms of the ceasefire. But anyway, there's still a little bit going on. Nothing from Hezbollah, by the way, but more so from Israel. So, okay, I got all that. All right, now turning to Israel. In Israel, the past week was, I would say, a week of hostage news, and none of it was really good. First, what came out was a psychological warfare video. Here, I'll stop the share. I think here I am. Okay. A psychological warfare video that Hamas put out of a soldier who was a U.S. Israeli soldier, and named Idan Alexander. He's alive, and he was saying, U.S. should come to our rescue. Trump, Netanyahu's not doing anything. The usual. Then there was the IDF also determined the death of another American-Israeli soldier, Omer Nutra. He was determined to have been killed on October 7th. He was a soldier with a tank unit. Up until now, he was believed to be alive. So his family, who for 420 days were very active in calling for the release of the hostages and meeting with international officials, now they have to shift gears and mourn. Also, the IDF found the body of another hostage who it was Itai Sversky. We know he was kidnapped alive. He was killed in a bombing, in an IDF bombing, but they found his body. There's very little details about that, maybe because that means there's more things that will, military operations in that area. Then 6 bodies that were found in August of hostages from 2 different communities. They were found together, kidnapped from 2 different Israeli communities. They were kidnapped alive. The IDF autopsies and investigations reveal that they were shot and killed around the time of an IDF bombing. So it's unclear whether they were shot in haste because their captors knew that something was coming, or if they were executed and then there happened to be a bombing. So there's probably no way to know. But it's a lot of this has really, the hostage family movement here in Israel is really one of it that's really captured the nation. And, a lot of them are calling for a ceasefire and saying that military power is not releasing the hostages. And they use this as proof of that. They are constantly having protests, and they also have now one that is very interesting is a silent protest that is going on almost all the time. It happens in shifts in different places, in front of the prime minister's house and in front of government buildings, where people sit there, they wear white and they just sit in silence. And so anyway, it's just, there's so many emotions attached to this, of course, in addition to the political ramifications and the military ramifications. So anyway, so that's all going on. Now, when Omer Nutra, the Israeli-American soldier, was determined to have been killed, President Trump released a statement saying that if the hostages are not released prior to January 2025, there will be, in all caps, all hell to pay. And he said those responsible will be hit harder than anybody has been hit in the long and storied history of the United States of America. Release the hostages now. So since then, there has been a flurry of activity, renewed in negotiations. Now, I don't get into negotiations because they have been known to disappoint. So I'm not going to say that, okay, this is it, but that it probably sparked this. Trump also appointed an envoy specifically to deal with the issue of hostages. It doesn't say the Israeli hostages in Gaza, but, just hostages. But at the moment, we only know of Israeli hostages in Gaza. So there's that. And also, so far, I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but Trump's picks so far for his cabinet are very pro-Israel, but you will likely see a balancing act with the desire to expand the Abraham Accords, with seeing a push for a Palestinian state. Now, because the Arab countries that want to join the Accords have to stand by the Palestinians. And so you're going to see a lot of a balancing act between those 2 points and Netanyahu's right-wing government that wants to resettle and annex. And when I say resettle, let's talk about Gaza. Now, Fred, you asked about the war in Gaza and where it's at. And so I have a little bit more information, and it was great. I spoke with somebody who is an IDF reserve soldier. He's back in Gaza right now, but we got to catch him between his tours of duty. And he said I should share the screen again. I'm going to try it. I hope it works. Let me know. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to show you the Gaza Strip. Now you see how small it is down here, but I'm going to make it a little larger. So right now what's going on around here where I'm moving the mouse, if you guys could see that, it's not the halfway point, but it's around the halfway point. There's something called the Netzarim corridor. And it's something that Israel has created, the military has created. They basically have a road going through from east to west. And when I looked at it on another map where I had the corridors and everything, it was very, it just looks like a line. The soldier told me it's 8 kilometers. It's 8 kilometers. What is that, like 5 miles or something from north to south? So this is a closed military zone occupying about 5 miles going east to west across Gaza, and it's not passable for Palestinians. Like, it's a closed military zone. If they need to go north to south, I don't even know if there's a setup for this. They would need to go through a specific military corridor to get from the north to the south of Gaza or vice versa. So that's now also another thing. What's happening right now is while the south and the middle, they're mostly under control, but not 100%, but mostly. If you see Jabalaya and Beit Lahia and Beit Hanun up here in the north, that is where the military is operating now. And what they're doing is they are evacuating these entire neighborhoods. I think there's an estimate of 400,000 people in that area, and they're forcing them all to leave. And whoever doesn't leave will be considered a terrorist and is fair game to be shot. So this is happening in order to create a buffer zone. Obviously, like, the military strategy here is to create a buffer zone between the Israeli communities there and Palestinians. But there's 3 things I'm gonna throw at you, and I'm not going to go in depth because each one of these topics would be an entire discussion on its own. That area will be empty. Now, somebody in Israeli politics who is a right winger in Israeli politics called it himself. He called it ethnic cleansing. Now, this has been what people have called it. Obviously, anybody who's pro-Palestinian is calling it ethnic cleansing. Also, Amnesty International is calling this genocide. By the way, Amnesty Israel says that's not correct according to the definition of genocide. But like, that is what's happening. He said the area is being emptied. It's a forced evacuation. That is called ethnic cleansing. Now, on the other hand, and I'm not going to, and obviously, the military is saying, no, this is for security and it's for safety of our citizens. And we've conquered the territory. We're keeping it. We're not giving this back. Now, there's another thing going on, which is resettlement, that there are some Israelis, the parties, the parties in the Knesset and movements that want resettlement of, or settlement of the West Bank, more Jewish settlement in the West Bank, but now in Gaza. And they see this as an opportunity in Gaza. And they have said that this needs to be part of the aim, is to reintroduce Jewish communities into Gaza. And they were evacuated in 2005. So anyway, so that will cause a huge debate internationally, obviously, but will also cause a debate in Israel if it gets to that point, because a lot of, it'll be left versus right, even, whatever, it'll go, I'm not going to go there right now because it's too much. So, so now I'm going to go full circle back to Turkey, because when we go full circle back to Turkey, it brings us back to here, because I just saw a quote from Erdogan, the president of Turkey, where he addressed the progress of the rebels. And he said the cities, Idlib, Hama, Homs, and of course, the goal is Damascus. Now, what I would say is that the goal is not just Damascus. The goal with Erdogan is Jerusalem. Now, I wrote an article in 2020. I interviewed another reporter who researches issues on Turkey and related to Jerusalem. And Turkey has for years been waging what is called a silent jihad in Jerusalem, very legally. They have charitable institutions. They're buying property. And they're basically turning the hearts of the East Jerusalem Arabs toward them, and with the goal of, everybody wants the Temple Mount. I mean, the Jews want the Temple Mount, obviously. The Saudis want the Temple Mount. The Jordanians have the Temple Mount, technically. And of course, Turkey wants the Temple Mount. So ultimately, it's all leading to the Temple Mount. And now, if Erdogan, who is behind the rebels and funding the rebels in Syria, he's just a couple hours from Jerusalem. So if he gets to Damascus, his next stop could very well be Jerusalem. So what I would say is to watch the statements of Turkey. He has long said, I have an article I just want to read. Okay, he just made a pact with the PKK leaders, invoking the 1920 Ottoman Pact. Now, Ottoman predates the state of Israel, and he has said, oh, let me find the exact quote if I can, that it's still possible to come across traces of the Ottoman resistance. So in Israel, he's saying, so in Jerusalem is our city, a city from us. So he has long said that he has his eyes on Jerusalem to expand. He wants to go back to the glory of the Ottoman Empire. And with him would be Azerbaijan as well. So I'm sorry, I have thrown 20 countries that are in this region into the mix, but it goes right back up to that region with Turkey and Azerbaijan. And so Azerbaijan is a good ally of Israel. And both are an enemy of Armenia. So both Turkey and Azerbaijan, and that's the Christian country that is squashed right in between these two Muslim nations. So that's the big circle that I'm right around the Middle East that I wanted to give you today. And anyway, that's it. That brings me to the end. Thank you very much for your patience.